Hello everyone, I am Dr. S.M. Pagalavan, Assistant Professor of English, Bishop Weaver College. In this lecture, I will discuss some important theories of English language teaching. The first theory is cognitive theory of multimedia learning. The cognitive theory of multimedia learning, CTML, provides a theoretical background that explains why elements of digital video support learning. The cognitive multimedia learning CTML states that multimedia, which is the use of words and pictures together, is a more effective way of learning than words alone or pictures alone. Mayer, the CTML theorist, along with others, developed CTML over the last 30 years with refinement continuing to this day. Bradley's theory of working memory, Pavlov's dual code theory, and as well as cognitive load theory all contributed to the development of CTML. Each author's work contributed to the three assumptions found in CTML about how individuals learn. The first assumption is the dual channel assumption, which states that individuals use an auditory channel through their ears and a visual channel through their eyes to process incoming information. The auditory channel processes sounds, music, and spoken words, while the visual channel processes images, written words, and moving images or video. This processing occurs in what's called sensory memory. Sensory memory holds the incoming auditory or visual representation experienced by the learner for just a brief moment of time before passing information along to working memory. The second assumption, the active processing assumption, is that individuals are actively working to construct understanding or knowledge through an organizational process of integrating new knowledge coming from the sensory memory with prior knowledge stored in a long-term memory. An individual's long-term memory retains information in an organized structure called schema. An individual can recall information from a schema more easily than new information. The process of adding new information to a schema occurs in a working memory, where a learner processes information from sensory memory with information from long-term memory. The third assumption is the limited capacity assumption, is that individuals have a limited amount of working memory capacity to engage in the knowledge-making process, because working memory is where knowledge creation is taking place. An instructor who creates learning scenarios that maximize its efficiency will ease the learning process for students. Cognitive load is the term used to describe the capacity of working memory, and it is also made up of three components. A. Extraneous cognitive load refers to an individual's processing of incoming information not related to the learning goal. Thus, video creators should minimize or eliminate elements contributing to extraneous cognitive load. B. Intrinsic or essential cognitive load is the processing an individual uses to organize new information. Video elements that assist the learner with organizing information work to enhance essential cognitive load. C. Germane cognitive load is the process of making sense of the new information. Mayer identified and situated 11 multimedia design principles inside the three areas of cognitive load. The 11 principles are backed by quantitative research conducted primarily in laboratory settings. When an instructor implements these 11 design principles into multimedia, the principles assist in maximizing an individual's opportunity to learn. Next, we discuss social constructivism theory. Social constructivism is a learning theory proposed by Vygotsky in 1968. The theory states that language and culture are the frameworks through which humans experience, communicate, and understand reality. According to Vygotsky, language and culture play essential roles both in human intellectual development and in how humans perceive the world. This is to say that learning concepts are transmitted by means of language, interpreted and understood by experience and interactions within a culture setting. Since it takes a group of people to have language and culture to construct cognitive structures, knowledge, therefore, not only socially constructed but co-constructed. The link here is that while the constructivists see knowledge as what students construct by themselves based on the experience they gather from their environment, the social constructivists see knowledge as what students do in collaboration with the other students, teachers and peers. Social constructivism is a variety of cognitive constructivism that emphasizes the collaborative nature of learning under the guidance of facilitator or in collaboration with other students. In social constructivism, children's understanding is shaped not only through adaptive encounters with the physical world, but through interactions between people in relation to the world that is not merely physical and apprehended by the senses, but cultural, meaningful and significant and made so primarily by language. The level of potential development, academic achievement, is the level of development that the learner is capable of reaching under the guidance of teachers or in collaboration with peers. He sees learning as a social activity associated with the other human beings like the peers, family members as well as casual acquaintances, including the people that existed before. Social constructivism recognizes the social aspects of learning and the use of conversation, interaction with others, and the application of knowledge as an essential aspects of learning and a means to achieving learning objectives. Vygotsky believed that lifelong process of development is dependent on social interaction and that social learning actually leads to cognitive development. In other words, all learning tasks can be performed by learners under adult guidance or with peer collaboration. This theory helps to give a backup to the establishment of opportunities of students to collaborate with the teacher and peers in constructing knowledge and understanding. Social construction of knowledge take place in various ways and at different locations. It could be achieved through group discussion, teamwork, or any instructional interaction in an educational or training institution, social media forum, religious and marketplaces. As students interact with people, the material and immaterial environment, they gain understanding and gather experience which is needed to live successful and functional lives. Social constructivism is also called collaborative learning because it is based on interaction, discussion and sharing among students. The teaching strategy allows for a range of groupings and interactive methods. These may include total class discussions, small group discussions, or students working in pairs on given project or assignments. The underlying factor to the theory is that learners work in groups, sharing ideas, brainstorming, trying to discover cause and effect, answers to problems, or just creating something new to add to existing knowledge. The next theory of English language teaching is communicative language teaching. Communicative language teaching is an approach that emphasizes interaction as both the means and the ultimate goal of learning second or foreign languages. It is also referred to as communicative approach to the teaching of foreign languages, or simply the communicative approach. Historically, CLT has been seen as a response to the audio-lingual method and an extension or development of the notional functional syllabus. Task-based language learning, a more recent refinement of CLT, has gained considerable popularity. As an extension of the notional functional syllabus, CLT places great emphasis on helping students use target languages in various contexts and learning language functions. Unlike the audio-lingual method, its primary focus is to help learners create meaning rather than help develop perfectly grammatical structures or acquire native-like pronunciation. This means that successful learning of a foreign language is assessed in terms of how well learners have developed their communicative competence. Successful learners can loosely be defined as possessing abilities to apply knowledge of both formal and socio-linguistic aspects of language with adequate proficiency to communicate. Any teaching practice that helps students develop their communicative competence in an authentic context is deemed an acceptable and beneficial form of instruction. Thus, in the classroom, CLT, communicative language teaching, often takes the form of pair and group work requiring negotiation and cooperation between learners. Fluency-based activities that encourage learners to develop their confidence. Role plays as well as judicious use of grammar and pronunciation, which are in the form of focused activities. The last theory that I discuss in this video is the interactionist hypothesis. The interaction theory of language development by Lee Vygotsky is compromise between the innatist and the behaviorist theories. While Skinner's theory of behaviorism states that children learn a language mainly through repetition, imitation, and habit formation, Noam Chomsky, deviating from the tenets of behaviorism, introduced that inact hypothesis. Chomsky states that language learning is not really something that the child does. It is something that happens to the child placed in an appropriate environment, much as the child's body grows and matures in a predetermined way when provided with appropriate nutrition and environmental stimulation. He raises the argument that if children learn language by imitation, why do they say things they have never heard before? Introducing the parameters language acquisition device or universal grammar, Noam Chomsky states that the language acquisition device is the ability to discover the underlying rules of a language system. This device contains the main rules for all possible human languages, and he called this set of common rules universal grammar, which is innate to a child biological endowment. Conquering Lightbourne and Spada state that the LAD is like an imaginary black box existing somewhere in the brain and thought to contain only the principles which are universal to all natural languages. Merging tenets of behaviorism and innatism, the interactionist theory recognized that both environmental and biological factors are important in language development. Interactionists believe that language is a byproduct of the children's social interactions with more knowledgeable people in their lives and the innate ability to acquire knowledge.